Okay, welcome back everyone to the Buyers on Demand podcast. Alex, as I'll introduce you in just a second, first off, it's an honor to have you. I will give you a 30-second, maybe 60-second rundown of why we created this podcast. I do it on every episode. The very short of it is I started off as a media guy. I ran a media company, worked with hundreds of realtors, helped them sell their homes. I then transitioned into a marketing guy due to health complications with my business partner.
Mhm.
And when I was in the marketing role with some of my business partners, helping out hundreds of agents, we found a lot of successes. We found a lot of failures, and we decided to create a podcast to expose all the secrets that we've learned up until this point. And we do so by interviewing rock stars like yourself. And now that 30 to 60-second intro about me pales into comparison about everything that I've learned about you. For the audience that is listening, it's an honor to be speaking with you, Alex. I'm talking with Alex Quate. Is that how you pronounce your last name, Alex?
Yes,
Okay,
quite like an
perfect.
earthquake.
Quite like an earthquake. It's an honor to be speaking with you, Alex. Alex is many things. I'll try to describe it the best of my ability. One is we can't go without saying an Emmy award winning TV show host with the American Dream, and we'll talk about
Yes.
that in this episode. An AI aficionado, which we'll talk about in this episode as well. A rock star top producer realtor, and a master at marketing. Now, those are just a couple different labels that I have, but Alex, how would you describe yourself for the audience?
Well, first, Sean, thank you for having me on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Right back at you. It's an honor to be here, but
Mm-hmm.
I am a real estate agent in the North Carolina Triad area. But as you mentioned, I am also a TV host for a real estate
Yes.
and lifestyle show that's been Emmy nominated and is a national TV show. So my business really sits at the intersection of real estate, media, and branding. I feel like I don't just sell homes, I like to package them. I think in terms of audience, attention, and story. And over the last few years, AI has become a huge lever for me to scale that without the burnout.
I love it. I love it. There are so many different crossroads here with what you're currently focused on with real estate, media, storytelling, AI, and of course, being a TV show host. Let's just start. There's so many questions I want to ask you, but let's just start from the very beginning. I know that you graduated with a degree in marketing. How do you, as a young college graduate, go from I want to pursue some sort of marketing career to all of a sudden becoming a TV show host for this awesome American Dream show? Like, walk us through that transition here.
Sure. So I went to the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. I was already sucked into corporate cosmetic world at the time. So my intention for going to get an international marketing business degree was to actually go open a cosmetic counter in Dubai. So I really quickly climbed the corporate ladder in that sense and started to see that retail shift happening where people were moving from in-store purchases to online to outdoor retail shopping centers. And I noticed, okay, you know what? Before I become a dinosaur in this industry, I need to make a career change. And I also wanted to have my own business and be in control of that because you can only go so far with an executive role. And so around that same time, my ex-husband and I were selling our townhouse, and the real estate agent was like, "You've got a really good eye for this. You could do this. If you ever want to make a career shift, like call me, I'll be your mentor." Because I had cosmetically updated the house. I actually took her photos for her. And then when she showed up to present the multiple offers we received, I already had a spreadsheet ready to go to plug in the numbers that I didn't realize at the time was what we now present to our sellers as a net income sheet. And so it just all kind of fell in line, and all the pieces fell into place. And I went from, this, and truly when I was at UNCG, all of the information and marketing that I've learned, I was able to apply it with a younger, fresher set of eyes to grow that business and then grow in those roles. But now I still reflect back on, it's been a while since I've been in college, I reflect back on some of the things that I've learned, and just, when it comes down to demographics and how people shop and using those questions to dive deeper into whether it's a buyer predictability or their resistance to certain prices.
Awesome. Awesome. So you walked us through college graduate, then you go into more of this retail kind of
Corporate America.
environment.
Yeah. Well,
Yes,
yep.
corporate America, and then you meet, someone as you're selling your home who says, "Hey, you could really do this." And so you transition to real estate. You also it aligns with you wanting to be your own boss. How do you now, as a new realtor, get this position where you become a TV show host? Let's connect all the dots here for the audience.
Sure. This is kind of a funny story actually. My son had just started kindergarten and he goes to a private school, and he had come home one day and he had these little like connector toys that you build things with, right? And he's like, Mommy, I got something really cool I have to show you. Go to my bedroom, I'll be there in a second. So I go and he whips like handfuls out of his pockets. I'm like, how did you manage to get all of these like toys out of class, right? And I was like, okay, his name is Gru. I was like, okay, Gru, teaching moment here, right? You can't steal things. You've got to ask for permission to take them home. So tomorrow you've got to return them to your teacher. And I got a call from the principal's office. And at that same time, I'm like sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, we're in a 30-day review period. They're going to kick Crew out of school. What am I going to do next? Waiting like how you would if you got in trouble in high school in the principal's office, and an email pops up from American Dream. And I'm like, is this real? And I send it to my mom. And then my cousin is actually an actor, and I sent it to him as well. And I was like, is this real? Is this a gimmick? And he was the one that really solidified for me, like, no, this is a real thing. And I actually know where the studio is in San Diego. Absolutely audition for it. And so that was really how the TV and the becoming a TV host like came about. Was they found me on social media and they saw that I was a top producer in my firm. I did the interview with them and I got the role. So out of the thousands and thousands of agents in my market, they picked 15 and I was one of the top 15. So here I am.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, first off, congratulations. There's so many ways that I can segue this conversation, but one thing that's been top of my mind before we even started this conversation is something that I hear a lot from the vast majority of realtors out there, which is I just don't know how to talk to the camera. Like a lot of agents kind of have that stage fright when it comes to putting up a camera and then like, what do I talk about? Like I was just speaking with someone where they were having trouble just reciting their name on camera. It's something that like washes over a lot of people. And so the first thing that I wanted to ask you before we even get into any of the rest of the discussion is, what kind of tips do you have for an average agent to get good on camera?
So I use ChatGPT for a lot of my scripting, and I have taught it to speak in my authentic voice so that I don't sound robotic. It sounds like me. You really have to train whatever kind of AI program you're using to sound like you authentically, but then also fact check, right? So I will use tools like that to help me come up with a script, but then also to search what are people actually interested in right now related to XYZ topic, so that I'm coming up with scripts that are giving me that hook, that are giving me my intro, my outro, sound bites that I can break up either a segment or a video that I make into different pieces so that I can regurgitate it into social media. I actually get asked this question a lot from other hosts. A couple tips and tricks that I've kind of learned along the way being a TV host is so I filmed at a baseball stadium in Greensboro with Otis and Wawa for their huge St. Patrick's Day festival, and it went into breast cancer awareness. They do a lot with charity, and I knew it was going to be extremely loud because this is a huge public event. So I was like, most news anchors or weathermen or women, right? They have some sort of ear pod in their ear. You would never know the difference. So I recorded what my intro was and then pressed play, let it talk a little bit, kind of gave myself like some hyped up, you got this, girl, put a smile on your face, look at the camera, pretend like it's my best friend, right? And then I'll let it play for a little bit. And then I can just repeat back what I'm saying because I'm saying it, I've recorded it within my own enthusiastic tone, or if it needs to be a more serious tone, or whatever the storytelling tone that's appropriate is for, I'll record it in that way, plug in the earpod, press play, and then go. And so I think that is one of my secrets to getting my scripts right when it comes to the American Dream TV and the episodes that I'm producing for Selling the Triad, because I want to make sure that that story is communicated correctly. Other than that, there's so many tools out there that you can use. Like there's teleprompter, there are tons of ways you can voice over yourself, but know your first line, look in the mirror, say it, record yourself, do it again until you feel confident. And bloopers are really great content. So make sure you get somebody like recording you when you mess up.
That's awesome. The earpod one is something totally new to me. I'll have to try it. Do you
Yeah.
like record yourself like one line at a time and play it back kind of
No,
thing, or you
so
record?
I'll record like my whole intro to an
Ah,
episode. And then,
very
well,
cool.
for the Otis and Wawa episode that I did, I recorded like specific things that I knew were going to be done in the baseball stadium. And then I don't know if you remember Cash Cab, that TV show where you'd hop in a
Love that
cab.
show.
So we
Yep,
kind of
that
did
was
like
my
a,
favorite show growing up. Yeah,
right? It was so
yeah,
good.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we did this like cash cab style. We would just stop people on the street, like, what's your favorite part about this event? How long have you been here? We'd ask St. Patrick's Day themed questions. But what I did when I first kind of discovered this little hack is I had recorded the portion that I knew I was going to be filming in the stadium where it was so loud. And then I was like, this is genius. I need to do this for every episode and I'll never miss a line. And so now what should take 4 hours to film something for, a 7-minute episode, we can knock out in 2 hours, or we can get
Awesome.
more to cover it because I'm not messing up every single line and having to do like 100 retakes.
So cool. And you are like, how do I say this? I'll just say, a step above the average, right? To say it in the best way possible in terms of, most people will have their iPhone in front of them, maybe a camera in front of them, if they're lucky, and they'll film themselves. They might have a teleprompter, whatever the case is. But I imagine you in front of, 7 different, teams or production crews, professional cameras, rigs, lights everywhere. So when it comes to the pressure on you, it's like you're not just, talking to the camera, you're talking to potentially maybe 20 people behind the scenes who are all watching
Yeah.
you. So one of the questions that I had for you is, given that experience that I'm assuming, you kind of getting used to speaking in front of this audience, how has that shaped you, how you view content today?
Oh my gosh, it has changed everything for me. So I was active on social media before I joined American Dream TV, but through all of the coaching lessons, because it's not just a TV show, there's also for agents, we have marketing meetup calls and coaching calls and this huge community of other agents who are all like-minded and are open to sharing and letting us all know like what works for them, what doesn't work for them, whether it's a script line or something with the ear pods or even a Canva template, anything. Um, that in itself has just completely changed how I look at videos. So my old post would have been the traditional just sold, right? Like just listed. And I had to switch gears because what I found was really working was storytelling. People are connecting with authenticity, they're connecting with humor. You have 3 seconds to capture someone's attention for them to continue to watch whatever it is you're posting, short or long content. So through American Dream TV, through everything that I'm learning in this process and being a TV host, I'm really learning how to storytell through my own authentic self with my own humor in ways that are going to capture an audience and keep their attention. I think that answered your question.
100% it did. It's so funny you mentioned that, because as I'm preparing for this episode, I'm thinking about the lessons that you've learned as a TV host. And there was one word that I wrote down on my docket, which was storytelling. Exactly what you just said. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because it was a perfect segue to what I wanted to ask you about, because I'm looking at your Instagram page and I'm seeing you getting homes under contract in one day. or in 2 days or 3 days, record time. And I'm like, holy
Yeah.
cow, how is she doing this? And I'm sure storytelling is a huge component of that. But I mean, you tell me, how do you get a home under contract in just a day?
So our average days on market here in my territory where I'm at, I cover, the entirety of the triad. That's like the center of North Carolina. So we're sitting on about 28 days before you're going to get an offer. And the way I always approach it is I want to know what the seller's motivation is. Do they need to sell fast? Are they moving? Do they don't have to sell, or do they have to sell in order to buy? So, of course, I'm asking sellers all the questions I need to know to make sure that when I give them my service of listing their home, that it is completely white glove, personalized, tailored to them. One of the things though that I do in my listing appointment is the very first thing actually that I do is I make them take me on a tour of their house, and I ask them, what's your favorite part about living here? What is the favorite thing that you love about the neighborhood? I get this story and the information from them, because you're actually going to attract a buyer better by telling a home story than you are by just showing a picture and feature. They can emotionally connect to that house. So I think that plays a huge role, my marketing tactics, and how I'm able to analyze the market, make sure I'm plugging in whatever my seller's reason for selling is, getting the story behind the house, doing the research. But then again, back to AI. I use AI a lot. And so I've trained it to help me with market predictability and how to market the house so it will sell in 2 days or go under a contract in 2 days. And then I have this whole other aspect of American Dream TV. So if I feature one of my listings, I know it's going to go national on a national TV. It's on all streaming platforms. I'm throwing it on my YouTube. Usually I tie in, 80% lifestyle, and then the rest is real estate. And that helps to sell the community, because if somebody is new is coming to North Carolina, they don't know where to go eat the best Mexican restaurant or Italian restaurant, or where to go find live music, those kind of things. You have to also sell the neighborhood or the community or city that it's in.
I love it. I love it. I've heard that advice plenty of times over. Now, tactically for the audience, let's say I'm a new realtor and I'm listening to this and I'm like, this is also great. Storytelling makes a whole bunch of sense. It's a very emotional investment. How can they tactically apply some of these storytelling elements to their marketing? Is this done in a caption, in a video, maybe drone video of the neighborhood? How do you display that in your marketing efforts?
All the things,
Cool.
everything
Love
what
it.
you mentioned. But I will say that the first place I start before I create my marketing plan for any listing is I work with I call Nova. That's my chat GPT. She gave herself a name. She's my assistant. We start with a buyer predictability, and there's a few questions that I prompt it. Then I always ask, okay, based on this buyer demographic, this is the person who's most likely to purchase this particular house. How do I get in front of their eyes? Where do I post? What do I post? What is going to get this house in front of every buyer that's the most likely buyer candidate to purchase this home? So for a new agent, I feel like, actually, I had this conversation with a new agent recently. If I could go back almost 10 years ago and just document a day in the life of becoming a real estate agent, I feel like that would get tons of views. Like, someone needs to start a
Yeah.
YouTube channel from day one, then they go to, pre-licensing through post-licensing to getting their business up and running. There's so many funny real estate stories that happen. I'm sure like while you're showing a
Yes.
listing, etc.
Yes.
That the one thing people still watch on TV is real estate related TV shows. Otherwise, they're going to streaming platforms. So why not kind
Yeah.
of incorporate that knowledge into what your storytelling and your posting is? So as a new agent, I would tell my story of how I'm getting to where I get in business when it comes to real estate, and grow that following and that trust that way.
I love it. I love it. You bring up so many good elements to that nugget that you just added about really this balance of like, how do I manage if I'm posting on my social media? How do I manage the amount of, or let me backtrack. Like, you hear this term personal brand a lot, and a lot of people will take it on one or the other extreme, where they'll think of it as, I need to create a brand that adopts this sort of appearance. The other end of the extreme is no, it's a personal brand for a reason. I'm going to talk about everything about my personal life. And it seems that, what the best people do is they balance both worlds, where there's some element of my story, my trust, another element that's maybe more value added, maybe
Mhm.
educational, something for the viewer. In your experience, how have you been able to blend these two worlds with your content today?
I think that well, so when I would say the beginning of last year, I was so honed in on I have got to get my social media across all platforms aligned, the color scheme, the font, everything needs to be branded. And I focused so hard on that. And I was like, I'm getting into my head. And through American Dream, I got to get a coaching call with Tom Ferry. And he's like, let's just back it up, girl. Focus on one platform, okay?
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
focus on your CRM. You already have so many clientele in there. Like, do a 6-point touch with them. So, what I've noticed is since I've really like dived in and focused specifically on Instagram, I'm looking as I scroll through my own page and I do my own audits on myself like monthly. I'm starting to see, or I've started to see this brand kind of come to life of who I am. And it's a collaboration of me as a real person, me as a mom, me as a real estate agent, me as a community leader, someone who's involved in charity. And so I think that people gravitate towards real people more than they're going to gravitate towards salesy people. And my motto with all of that is be your authentic self, be honest in what you be honest and be intentional in what you're posting. So, just as important as it is to post frequently and consistently, the message you are sending out there is also so important. And when you start to get that following or the algorithms really start to hit and you're getting this huge reach, now there's like a responsibility on you, right? So, I have a platform. ADTV has given me the microphone. If there is someone in the community or in life, like whatever it is, like I need to use that platform for good just as much as I do to promote who I am. And I feel like by doing that, that's how I'm gaining more business, more clients, just by being who I am and sticking to my core values as a person.
I really love what you said. I think my favorite piece that you brought up in that discussion there was knowing who, or the intentionality between your posts. And it makes me think about, I want to say maybe 2 years ago when we started our
Mm-hmm.
media company, maybe 2.5 years ago. I'm trying to think of the exact timeline, but 2.5 years ago, we started our media company and we're posting on Instagram a brand new page. We probably had, I don't know, like 60 followers, but every post was very intentional. We were calling out a specific avatar. We wanted to work with this type of realtor. And so while we didn't get the most views in the world, we started to become what we like to call in our business oversubscribed, where we were getting people left, right, and center just because we knew who we were speaking to. And so, just like what you're talking about, is this, yes, like posting frequently, of course, is a huge component of it, but also this intentionality between every single post serving the avatar that you want to become your client or your follower. And that's something that stuck with me for the past couple of years, where like it doesn't really matter. Like I don't ever really look at views or followers or likes. I just look at the conversations that I'm having through
Yeah.
the content, and the conversations that I'm having, like for example with you or anyone else. These people are so aligned with my mindset. It's like, okay, great. I'll just keep making content that's geared towards these people. So I completely agree with everything you're saying. I think you nailed it right on the head with that one.
You definitely have to know your audience and who you're posting for. Like, who do you want to hear this message? Is it a buyer? Is it a seller? Is it a like minded
Yeah.
professional in your industry? And then, with that audience in mind, you create the content you post, right? So,
Yeah.
I think, I mean, just like you said, you nailed it on the head. I, from what I've seen from you and your podcast that I've listened to, you're that like-minded individual who's not, a lot of real estate agents are very closed about sharing their successes and their
Yes.
wins. And it's like a rising tide lifts all boats, right? Why not share
Yes.
the wins? Why not share the goals? Like we as a community of agents need to create a better first impression for clients out there. And so with this new shift in age and AI and social media, let's not even call it social media anymore. Let's just call it the internet, because that truly is
Right.
where people are searching, right? Being
Right.
authentic, knowing your audience, posting intentionally, all of those things align and go together.
And I think you also bring up another point too when you're talking about agents being closed off, from their successes or failures or whatever the case is, and you saying rising tide, lifts all boats. I can see that very clearly on your Instagram, where you do this blend of, as you mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, of course, real estate and media, but more importantly, real estate education.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see this focus on like, no, let me share what's actually working for me. I think if I provide value to my community, more value will come my way as well. I'm curious, like, not to put you on the spot too much, but
No,
like,
you're
what are some of your most favorite accomplishments in your career so far?
So, in my career so far, I have a few that really stick out. Of course, when you
Mhm.
sell that first $1 million property, that's a big accomplishment. Getting cast as a TV host is huge, but as a mom and a single mom, being able to show my son in real life, like what drive and intention looks like, and not being afraid to fail, because you learn from your failures and then you get back up again and you can move forward with that new knowledge. But then giving back to the community and just being a very whole-rounded person, and the ability to show him that is probably one of my biggest wins in switching gears and going into real estate. But I guess that there's some things that touch my heart a lot, right? So through American Dream TV, having this huge platform to post and to tell stories about, there are communities and there are charities that I've become involved with through the ROR that I'm getting with American Dream. And one of those is a bed and a book. So that's actually an upcoming episode. And Annalisa Wall, she works for Mungo Homes. We met at a Parade of Homes gala event and we just really hit it off. And so we're like, we need to connect, and like, how do we get you into Mungo Homes, and like, how do I get you more visibility? And I remember we were talking over the holidays and we were just kind of throwing dates out at each other. And she's like, oh, I can't do that date. I've got to go deliver a bed. And I was like, you got to go do what? She's like, I got to go deliver a bed for a bed and a book. And I was like, what is that? She's like, it's my charity. And I was like, what day is it on and what time? And can I come? And she's like, sure. And I was like, all right, great. See you there. Right. So I hung up the phone. I had no idea what I was walking into. And I went and I did this delivery to this young couple and these two little girls. And I had my American Dream TV shirt on. And I remember them saying, we really love your coat. Can we put your coat on? And oh, you've got a camera. We love doing TikToks. And like, while I sat there and I read them this book and was just talking with these little girls and like building this bed and putting their bed together, God, it hit home for me, because I have a kid, but we don't think about those things. Like, you probably woke up this morning and did not think there's somebody out there, especially a child, who doesn't have a bed to sleep on tonight. You probably woke up and were like, either I got a great night's rest or I didn't get a good night's rest, but I slept in a bed. So for me, I think by making the career change into real estate, I went into it not for the glamour of real estate. I went into it because I felt like there's a lot of people out there who are not honestly communicating the role of an agent or the messages that some of our clients need to hear that sometimes they don't want to hear, but is right for them, and keeping their intentions in mind. And now it's turned into, because I'm a real estate agent, because I am a TV host, I feel like I have an obligation to use my platform and my voice to share the things that I care about and the stories that are important to me, and talk about these charities that people wouldn't have known about.
I love it. Amazing. This conversation is very adjacent to a question that I had for you regarding, you can call them codes of business, business principles. When I talk to, especially like top producers, they typically will have a couple different mantras that they live their life on. And it sounds like you touched on a couple of them as you're describing these stories. And one that kind of rings true to me, the one that I hear the most often from top producers that I talk to is, under promise and over deliver, always go above and beyond, always do more than expected, those kind of mantras. Are
Mm.
there three, maybe two or three mantras that really stick out in your life that you live your life by?
Yeah, so honesty and integrity are huge for me. I agree with the other agents. I will tell people when I'm reviewing numbers or anything like that, guess what? You're going to like me a lot better because I'm being super conservative on your net when we get to the closing table and you actually get $5,000 or whatever it is. But I've always said this to my clients, like, I am the person that if I don't know the answer, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I know the answer and make it up. I'm going to go find the answer for you, right? And I've also told them always, like, my role, unfortunately, is to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, whether you like to hear it or not, because I don't want you to be surprised at all throughout this transaction. My job is to take the stress off of you and take on this stress for you. So yeah, I think just being authentic, I'm having to learn to not be so humble. So the CEO of American Dream TV, he's like, Alex, you are a TV host for an Emmy-nominated national TV show. Like, own it, girl. You're like, you're just so humble, right? And I'm like, I appreciate that statement, but I do think there's some strength in humbleness, right? But you also need to make sure that people understand who you are and what you do. So finding that balance by being authentic and just living that authenticity in my life and making sure, I do have I call him my little authentic checker, right? Because my son is sitting here watching me all the time, so he knows. And that to me is something that will always keep me in line with my morals and my integrity.
Well, it tells me something, getting to know you throughout this episode here, that you have these opportunities in front of you in terms of being a TV host, your other skill sets that you've developed along the way in terms of marketing and media, real estate education, your skill sets when it comes to AI, and yet you still gravitate towards real estate. And so it tells me that the career itself is inherently aligned with maybe your moral values. There's something
Hmm.
maybe about real estate in particular that really hits home for you personally. And so, one question that I have for you is, what is it about real estate that's kept you in the business for so long?
So I actually grew up going to open houses and to parade of homes with my mom and when I was younger. And I always used to think, wow, this is so cool. Like how these designers could take an image of a living room from a magazine and like I'm looking at it in real life. And then my mom and I were always, updating things that we could, whether it's my bedroom, rearranging furniture, repainting the kitchen. I would help her take down wallpaper. And as I was, growing and getting into high school, I would take architecture classes. And I have always had like a real passion for art and design. And I went to the Corcoran College of Art and Design. And I think I would have ended up in architecture or interior design had I not gotten sucked into the cosmetic world first. So it's just a passion. I love what I do. And I think it's really important that you love what you do. You can't go to work every single day and feel just bogged down and dragged down. I love going to look at houses. I love the communication and the relationship building side of it. I love that I get to help people and be their biggest cheerleader through one of their largest financial purchases they're going to make in their life, right? Like real estate, buying a home, probably the biggest purchase you'll ever make in your life until you buy your next house.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
being able to be that person and my relationships with my clients, they don't end at the closing table. They continue. Like my clients become my family and friends. I get to go to
Yeah.
baby showers and birthday parties and anniversaries. And so, yeah, it's fun for me. It's part of who I am. When people ask me, what's your hobbies? I'm like, well, I'm a boy mom and I love real estate and I sell real estate and I do real estate. And then my newest hobby is I geek out on AI, right? And I love
Yeah,
music. So there we
there
go.
you
Those
go.
are my hobbies.
Yeah, it's from an outside perspective, it definitely seems like a very impactful career where
Mm.
I would imagine you have many stories where, like, I can think of one off the top of my head that I think would really move me is if I had, for example, a client, if I were a realtor and he was retiring his parents, for example, right? Like that could be something that is like someone comes to you and says, "This was my dream growing up. I can now actualize this dream." thanks to your help. I imagine you have some stories like that that really have maybe moved you to tears. Are there any stories that come to mind when I'm describing this scenario?
I can think of two off the top of my head. So I think it was 2 years ago. I won't name drop, but a lady reached out to me, and I thought we were searching for her son, but it ended up being her dad, who was a retired vet. And when I got to meet him and we found the house, just the hug, and you can just tell, like, parents especially when their kids give back to them and that look in their eyes, they're proud of their kid for what they're accomplishing, but then they're also just so grateful. And she was so excited because she had the financial ability to put him into this home, and he lived like right up the street from me, so I'd go check in on him. And I almost said her name. She'll call me sometimes. She'll be like, thanks for checking in on my dad, I really appreciate it. And like those moments. But then there's also the moments of the first time home buyer or the downsizer, right? Or, life changing, upsize, whatever you want to call it. Everybody's got a different term for it. They're all individually meaningful because they're all unique. Every single transaction that I've had.
And it speaks to your character that you're having these relationships years after the transaction has occurred. And
Mm-hmm.
so my number one question that I have when you're telling me these stories is, how do you foster such deep relationships with strangers, essentially?
So it all begins from that initial impression that I'm making on them, right? Like that's going to determine whether they use me or not as their real estate agent. But then the communication throughout the transaction is what I feel like establishes the next level of the relationship, turning that into a friendship to where people are reaching out to me, inviting me to weddings or their daughter's baby shower, whatever it is. But I take notes, whether it's in my phone or through my CRM, of those important dates to remember. And so, just like you would plug in, a brother, sister, boyfriend, girlfriend, kid, whatever's birthday in your phone, like I'm doing that in my phone. So I know automatically, oh, it's Sean Stewart's birthday today. Let's reach out to him. Just say happy birthday. Just something as simple as a text to be like to a client who maybe I had 3 years ago telling him happy birthday or happy anniversary. I think that goes a far way, but I'll even go even further sometimes and I'll send them something on their birthday so it's unexpected, whether it's cookies or a DoorDash of flowers, any little thing. Or if I see them on Facebook or Instagram, because we're all friends now in social media, and I see some accomplishment that they've done, then I'll send that, out of the blue, like surprise congratulation to them. And I think just staying in constant contact and helping be their cheerleader, like I promised I'm going to be throughout all of their life wins, is what really fosters the relationship.
It's funny you mentioned that. And this is particularly a conversation that I think you would really have a lot of great insight onto. Is I'm looking at this world ahead of us as we're like diving into AI and how
Mm,
technology is advancing so quickly. And what you just brought up is one of the key pillars of fostering these deep relationships is by giving them, funny enough, gifts or whatever the case is that are away from the computer instead of just a
yes.
digital text, maybe sending a basket or something like even an envelope, like it's really an interesting experience as a recipient where I might have been introduced to someone, either a vendor or a friend or whatever the case is, whatever the relationship is. And first off, for them to acknowledge me on my birthday, that goes a long way. I love to feel acknowledged. But even just getting like a handwritten card, it feels
Yes.
so much more personal than just like a text message, that
Mhm.
could have been at this point written by ChatGPT or whatever the
Right.
case is. And so I think about that a lot, especially with some of the people that I've had the pleasure of working with and interacting with. One thing that I'm very proud of for myself is that just recently we wrote a book called Buyers on Demand. It's actually
I
the
love
title
it.
of this podcast, and it's surprising when I send people this physical book, the amount of people that are taken back by the act of just a physical gift versus just sending them a PDF. It's like night and day difference. And so my question to you is, how do you foresee this future going in terms of building relationships in a new digital age?
Mhm. So it's funny that you bring up the book and sending that, because I do like to read and I'm very old school in reading. Like, I want a physical book in my hand. I don't want to listen to, the
Audiobook.
audiobook,
Yeah.
and I don't want to read
Yeah.
it digitally. I want to be able to like thumb through the pages, make my own notes, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like real estate, obviously this is a relationship business as much as it is a sales business. And it kind of falls back a little bit to the old school methods, but taking those old school methods of a mailer, a postcard, you know, just simply picking up the actual phone and calling someone because you've built that relationship, they're going to answer. You can leave them a voicemail and laugh about something, right? But the mailers, I think I write a personal thank you card to all of my clients, whether they use me or not, whether I'm just meeting them. I also write them to the agents too. So when we close a transaction, if we had an excellent deal together, I'm thanking them for the relationship that we built as an agent to agent and how they were able to help guide their clients through to the closing table. I feel like with this new age of AI, and AI is constantly changing. Every single day there's a new app with AI, right? AI should be used as a way to help you save time. Maybe if you're kind of stuck thinking on an idea, how can I reach out to this client in a unique way that is not a digital way? You can use AI to help you come up with those different ideas. But I still feel like as agents, we have to put a physical person behind who we are and our pictures, and whether that is door knocking my neighborhood or throwing a neighborhood cookout, right? Those are the things that are going to continue to foster the relationship and allow me to be the digital mayor of my community. Gary Vee says you have to be the digital mayor of your community, right? So that is so true. And you can't just be digital to become the digital mayor. You have to be in person. You got to go to that coffee shop. You got to go knock on the neighbor's door. You got to send the happy anniversary card, for a wedding anniversary or a baby shower gift. You just be that person, right? Treat them as your family, treat them as your friends. That's who, if I had to set my parents up with a real estate agent that was not me, I'm not looking for the agent that is the top producer when it comes to volume. I'm looking for an agent who is going to treat them the same way that I would, in the sense of, you're my family. I'm looking out for your best interest financially. I'm looking out for your best interest for the future.
I love it. Perfect. Absolutely perfect way to end this segment in terms of in-person relationships. I could go on for another hour about this conversation. I talk about it all the time. I do want to, though, really stick on the first part, the first half of what you just discussed, which is how you adopt AI today, how it benefits yourself, other agents, your clients. And I know, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you have a class coming up maybe tomorrow, is it? We are
I
teaching agents
do.
about AI.
So I do.
Yeah.
My firm's asked me to teach an AI class to
Yeah.
some of the other agents, because they're just like, I created a survey and it was interesting to see, the thought on AI across the board with some of these other agents in my firm. And I'm not going to say that my firm is a leading firm in AI technology, but it is a great firm. I'm sure you've seen the meme where it talks about, Keller Williams, Alan Tate, like
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
Sotheby's, and then there's Fathom
Yep.
at the bottom, and it's like Fathom
Yep.
keeps the most
Yep.
money on your pocket. Well, yeah, it does. So that's great.
Yep.
But a lot of people, a lot of agents are either afraid of the output, so they're not. That tells me they're not prompting it correctly, and they don't know how to use it correctly. So if you're properly using AI, you shouldn't be using it as a search engine. You should be using it as a thought processing and thought creating engine in your authentic voice. And that's really important with it. Bring me back to the question. I was getting off track there.
No,
So
that's
the
okay.
AI class
Yeah.
tomorrow, right?
Your AI
So
class tomorrow. Yeah.
yes, so I'm teaching this AI class. I also this year just started a business, and it is in a beta phase right now, but Home Tour
Hmm.
Collective is going to be launching soon for agents, I feel like, who maybe are in the same boat as me, same mindset. They want to grow their brand, they want to grow their visibility, and I want Home Tour Collective to be a safe space where agents can come and share their thoughts and learn that's positive and be ahead of the curve when it comes to the AI tools. So it's about practicality and creating systems and creating the plugins that can either help predict consumer behavior or help you grow your brand, whatever it is. So that's like the next vision in real estate for
Now,
me.
now for the agents out there that are listening and they're like, man, this girl is too complicated in terms of her language. Like this is too much output and AI and blah 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 blah. I know you've been playing around with ChatGPT and maybe some other AI tools.
Mhm.
Would you mind maybe sharing some of the things that you feel free to share your screen and show us maybe some of the things you've been working on?
Absolutely. So I
Yeah, let me know if you
have,
need help.
give me a second here. I don't know if you
Mhm.
can pause it here.
Yeah, that's fine.
The very first video that the way my AI, so hopefully nobody hears this. Well,
Hmm.
this will come out after the class, but
Hmm.
our intro is an AI video of me. And it's a raise of hands. How many of you guys think that's actually Alex speaking? Because these people, some of them know me, some of them don't,
Hmm.
right? So I just sent the link to you in the chat. I don't know if you can
Oh,
open it
okay.
up.
Let's see. All right, let me see if I can open this. Oh yeah, awesome. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So if you want to, you can play the
Yeah.
video and I can explain it to them.
Okay. You can see my screen.
Hold on, it's like loading.
Yep.
There we go.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. We have a lot of hands-on information for you all, so we are going to mute everyone while we get through the slides. If you have a question about a specific slide, please put it in the chat box. Otherwise, we will use the last 20 minutes for an open Q&A.
So I use Hey Jen occasionally when, as a female, we got to get camera ready and like do our hair and put our makeup on and all the things. And sometimes that takes a while, especially when you're getting a 6-year-old out the door to go to school, right? So if I know I need to post something and I've got a topic, but maybe I'm not quote unquote camera ready, which if you follow my Instagram and you watch Coffee and Convos or Coffee and Real Estate, you know that I'm running out the door, hair not brushed, drinking coffee. So again, back to the authentic self. I always try to show all sides of me. Um, but Hey Jen is a really cool tool that is a huge time saver for anyone that wants to create a video content of themselves. You do have to play with it. But what you do is you just essentially you create your own avatar and it records your movement and your facial expressions and then it records your voice. So if you say, all right, now I want to create this video that introduces me to a Zoom class and I put the script in there, I can automatically produce the video. And so that's what the first intro of our Zoom class is going to be, is to test HeyGen to see how many people that are watching that actual class think that that is me, because it is me recorded like through my movements and facial expressions,
Yeah.
and it's me and my tonalities a little bit off, but for the most part, that is me. And they just, however AI works, and it's, magnificent AI mind took the words I wanted to say and me and my recorded voice and put it together in a video. So while I'm creating this slide for this class that I'm about to teach, it was a cool way for me to incorporate one tool and introduce it to them. But HeyGen's a huge time saver.
That,
I do like it for that purpose, as long as you get it just right so that it doesn't look so, automated, like you're
sure.
just some AI robot.
Sure. Are there, so you mentioned Hey Gen. Are there any other AI tools that you leverage on a day to day basis that maybe other people haven't heard of?
GenSpark, Notion AI, I'm playing with and still learning. Flowdesk. There's so many that I use. CapCut is one. I see things posted all the time about CapCut and video editing and like it's fading out, right? But I still use CapCut because I'm very comfortable with it and I've learned all the pros and it's on my phone, so I can literally record something, make the edit, and quickly post it. Um, I am working on my own app at the moment that would be specifically geared towards real estate agents and property searches and how to find the next off-market property or person who's willing to sell their property, so land acquisitions. So that's something to stay tuned for, right? I'm trying to think. There's so many that I just use that I almost forget that they're overlays on top of my emails or on top of my socials. So yeah, but HeyGen is a good one that I go to. ChatGPT is a good one I go to. Without going too technical, right? Like sort feed is a good one. And then I think I sent you guys name set. So if somebody's looking to create a name for a podcast, faceless IG account, whatever it is, and you can't think of something, like you can go in and it'll create your own just random names that whatever you prompt it with, and it'll come up with a logo too. So that's a cool one. But you know, there's that old saying, like, don't fix it if it's not broken, and I'm terrible with those analogies. However, something that I have been doing recently that I do find very helpful is if someone's posted a viral video that relates to me and relates to my audience, I will take that video and I will throw it into ChatGPT, and I will say, and I call my ChatGPT Nova, right? I'll tell Nova, analyze this video, then recreate it in my own voice so that I'm not copywriting that person, because they worked hard to create that content. I'm not trying to steal it from them, but it's almost like a rinse and repeat. Like put it in my voice though, and then help me create that video to go viral or to get at that like 30,000 views.
Yes. I have many videos that talk about this exactly. It's like you don't want to just completely steal. You want to take the elements that work and then tailor it to your exactly what you're saying, your avatar. Now, I want to go back just quickly. I know we're kind of at the latter end of our conversation today, but I want to go back quickly. You brought up something that I bookmarked in my mind, which was a lot of agents struggle when it comes to prompting AI, right? They'll put in certain pieces of text and then they'll be confused on why the AI is giving them the wrong information. Do you have any tips and tricks for agents on how to get the right output from using AI properly?
Absolutely. So follow Sean Stewart on Instagram because he gives lots of good tips. I'm not kidding, but so when you're prompting AI, like the basic keys of it are that you have to give it a role. Act as a marketing director, act as an expert in. Then you need to give it a task. So act as an expert marketer in real estate and create a social media plan for the next X amount of days to get what? Like, what is the goal? So you got to give it a job title, give it a task, tell them whatever the problem or the pain point is that you're calling out, then give it a goal. But then you go deeper, right? And this is where I think agents fall off a little bit. You have to fact check things. So like when I do my coffee and real estate in the morning, I always go to ChatGPT because I'm trying to get my third cup of coffee in me and my son out the door, right? And I will say, pull up the top 3 news stories that are related to the Piedmont Triad and real estate and tell me what's happening in the world. But give it to me in layman terms, right? And then from there, I'll create my coffee and real estate conversations and then I'll record them. Like I plug my phone onto a little, cam holder in my car, and like while I'm driving home from drop off or sitting on my front porch, I have that news information, but the key is I fact check it, right? So I want to make sure that whatever I'm about to post out there is actually accurate. So I'll just kind of double check it. And once I've done that a few times, then I'm able to see, am I prompting my AI companion correctly to do the right searches, or am I telling it to search the right search engines to get accurate news? So it's like reverse news hacking.
I love it. Very cool. Very helpful. Thank you again, Alex. Now, as we near the very end of this conversation, I want to end off with our fun game that we call "How Would You Sell It?" I've told you a little bit about it. I'll give you a 30-second rundown. Basically, I'm going to show you a random listing that is in your area, and especially given your background in TV show marketing, media, how would you sell it given your expertise? Okay. So let me know if let me know if you can see my screen here. Hold on just one moment.
You're fine. I'm going to go ahead and start pulling up my tools so I can walk you through exactly how I would do it.
Okay. Let me know if you can see my screen here. Feel free to, for the audience that's listen only, feel free to describe what you're seeing.
I'm seeing dots loading. Let's go.
It's perfect.
All right. So I am seeing 2+ acres. I need to make my screen a little bigger here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got what looks like a distressed property for sale on a little over 2 acres. Thurman, North Carolina. Okay, so we are out in the sticks of North Carolina. No offense, Thurman. 3-bedroom, 1 bath, little over, just right at 1,000 square feet. Okay. Oh, there you go. The pictures. Oh yeah. Wait, slow down. Go back up.
Yep.
This house, you guys, is sitting on. Go up one more. Keep going. There you go. Stop. It's sitting on cinder blocks. So you can actually see the insulation underneath what probably should be a stronger foundation and crawl space. Does it say if it's a manufactured home or a modular home by chance?
Let's check.
Built in 1971. Oh, your fixer-upper.
Not seeing anything here.
No? Okay.
Mm-mm.
So then let's see, what else would I would be also curious to see how long this has been on the market.
Let's see.
106 days on Zillow. Okay. We got almost 3,000 views, 83 saves. Okay.
Anything else that you want to see? Do you want to see more of the pictures, the description, anything else?
Yeah, let me see the description one more time.
Sure.
Go back and all right, your fixer-upper, cottage on 2+8, look at between. Okay. In the Mountain Park community, they should be calling out Pilot Mountain. While it needs some tender love and care. So, okay, back to the honesty thing. Let's be real about this house. I'm going to tell you straight off the bat. First impression, first photo. This is not, it needs some TLC. This is like, there's something going on with this house. Okay, it is distressed. There's no foundation that's structurally sound. It's overgrown, right? Like, I hate when agents do that. Be specific. Yes, you can storytell. Yes, you can use adjectives that are going to attract and hook people and grab them in. But let's not set this up for the brand new agent that's trying to get the experience and showing someone a fixer-upper when this is more than a TLC situation. You can you can transform this property into a cozy and comfortable home or weekend retreat. Okay. 2 years ago, living room is kerosene monitor. Other areas of the house have no heat. All right. So is the 1,000 square foot heated or no?
I don't know.
Okay.
Something tells me no.
I would assume so. So, we got some issues here. We got some material facts we gotta disclose and figure out. So the game, right? How would I sell this property?
How would you sell it?
Right. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through exactly what I would do.
Okay.
I'm gonna have you help me. So I'm in my chat GPT, and the first thing I'm gonna do is this is how I would price. This is my pricing prompt. Okay. So, and I'll send this to you so you can actually share them. I'll create a little document. You can share them with your viewers too.
Sure.
But my first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say act as a senior real estate data analyst and pricing strategist. Analyze this property using visual condition cues, likely buyer psychology, current market velocity, price bracket, sensitivity. Assume I am listing in a competitive but rate sensitive market. My return, the ideal list price, psychological pricing band, price that would create the most showing velocity, and price that maximizes next over 30 days. However, with this one, so that is like one of my prompts. This one, just being in real estate, I'd probably gear this towards, an off-market investor. So will you tell me the property address? And I will put this in here. I'm going to tell you what the output is.
The property address is 375 Ed Nixon Road. That's E.D. Nixon, Nixon Road in Thurmond, North Carolina.
So typically what I also do though is I will pull comps just as I normally would when I'm looking at a listing. And I'll also include that into the prompt. And I'll say something like the RPR value is, the AVM is, and the comps price per square footage is, then based on this prompt I just read to you. And with the property address as well as what the seller's intention, why are they selling? Did they need to sell fast, etc. So my screen is, it's researching price strategies. It's searching for comps and sale details through Thurmond right now. It's going. It's operating. It's doing its thing. All right. So the listing highlights a fixer-upper, but here's the pricing strategy that I would use. As it sits today, rural fixer-upper, hold on, screen just crazy on me. On a little over 2 acres, listing language explicitly positions it as a cash buyer, TLC, and notes limited heat, which is a major financing constraint. Absolutely. You're not going to be able to get a lender to lend on this. What the market is telling me before we price it, visual condition cues, heat limitations, non-conventional conditions. So many buyers assume cash only and mentally budget a large unknown contingency. Rural wooded, no close neighbors, which is strong for that retreat, or the hunters, because there are a lot of hunting in North Carolina, or a DIYer, right? So now it's telling me buyer psychology, who is actually going to book a showing. Cash investors, flippers light. They want the margin and the low basis. Weekend retreat, hunting, camp buyers. They want a cheap entry, but they want the land, or a DIY value buyer. But many are going to get blocked by financing, or inspections, and then the heat issue. All three of those groups anchor off what's the cheapest I can get it for, given the risk. That is who this buyer is. They're going to be asking that question over and over again. What's the best deal I can get on this property? Because there's clearly a risk here. So there's got to be some reward uncertainty that's happening. And I'm not going to read the entirety to you, but through my GPT in this app that I am like in beta phase with right now, what do they have it listed for? Just curious.
54,900.
Okay, so the biggest thresholds that are going to change the buyer behavior and get this one to move faster. Decisive price cut, not $1,000, but it needs to be under 50K, because it's a huge psychology and search filter unlock that would happen that'll get it more clicks. And just given our current market, whether it's a fixer upper or not, that pricing psychology where you price like slightly below what the market value is currently saying, or what buyers are willing to pay for a property, is what's creating the overlist price, still multiple offer scenarios. So my chat is telling me that a buyer reaction is going to shift if this property were priced at $47,500.
Wow.
and it would create the most showing velocity and foot traffic. Highest it would go up to is right at 49K. Again, I take all of this, so price that maximizes the net over the next 30 days with the most likely highest net. If you wanted to maximize the net, not just the offers, again, that goes back to like, what's the seller's intention? Why are they selling? Like dropping it to 52 in that 30-day window to maximize the profit. But quickest strategy call outs, because the listings already proved that 54.9 is clearly not cleaning it up. There's no pending, there's no backup cycles. I can't see any history where it went under contract. The highest probability play in rate and risk sensitivity environment is to reset the market for this property at 49.9 and let competition do the work. So now I go into another prompt, because I'm not just asking for comps, I'm asking for the buyer behavior, and that's really important. So my next prompt is buyer prediction. The prompt would be act as a buyer behavior forecaster. Based on this home, predict the top 3 buyer avatars, what objections they will have, what emotional trigger will move them to act, what would stop them from submitting an offer. Because if you understand a buyer's hesitation, you can design the confidence for them, right? So let's go ahead and I'm going to throw this into my app here and see what it prompts me with, because I need to ask it this buyer prediction before I go into my secret that I'll share with everyone, how I then roll out my marketing campaign for a listing. So it said buyer avatar 1, cash value investor, low overhead, hold or light flip, solo investor, or small partners. All right, I've got my list already of those people that I work with. Buys rural properties. Their primary objective is unknown scope of the rehab, especially with the heat and the HVAC compliance. Their exit risk is who's my buyer or renter after I fix this property. So fear of overpaying related to their post-repair value, right? The ARV ceiling and Thurman is super tight. And that emotional trigger that's going to move them is I'm getting in cheap enough that even if surprises happen, I'm still going to win. Okay, so that's my first buyer. It gives me more info on that buyer. My second buyer that I can market to is rural lifestyle retreat buyer, hunting off the grid, weekend use. So their profile is not a real estate pro, emotionally driven, but budget anchored, sees this as a place, not a spreadsheet. So with this particular buyer, their emotional trigger is that this could be my escape, my private, quiet, me time hunting place. They're going to be probably secondary in my list, because they're going to act more emotionally. And when they get that home inspection on this house, I can already tell you, they're going to be like, sorry, we're going to terminate. And then that third buyer, which is the homesteader, they're budget conscious, or maybe they're not. Maybe they have this budget and they want to just try their hand at a flip. The strongest buyer that I'm getting off of this is buyer number 1. So here is then where, if you understand the hesitation, you can design the confidence. So my next rollout is the full marketing rollout prompt. This is your mic drop when you're in ChatGPT. So you're going to tell it, you are a real estate media director. Create a 14-day marketing rollout for this listing. Include platforms that buyer 1, whichever buyer, or the 3 buyers, you can do it however you want to, that they're going to use and see. Daily post themes, 1 viral hook, 1 educational post, 1 emotional story post, 1 conversation call to action. Assume I'm posting this as a must-see home, not just another listing. All right, so now when I do that, it will give me a full-on marketing plan that I can cross-check, make sure it sounds like me and my voice, create the social media videos off of it, know where to post. So is the investor searching for homes online? Are they searching where online? YouTube, Facebook, so Instagram, X, LinkedIn. Where are they searching to find these homes? That's where I'm going to know to put my ad spend budget. And now I've got a 14-day marketing rollout to create momentum, normalize the condition, and trigger decisive buyers. Cash buyers is what I'm going after right now. Their primary platforms that are used daily: Instagram. They primarily focus on reels and stories, Facebook feeds, and local groups. So local investment groups, YouTube shorts. YouTube's huge, but they've now, switched content into shorts. And then this is unique because it's unique for this particular buyer, but email 2 to 3 cents total, not daily, on the investor side. And it gives me a day one launch. This is not a starter home, is in big letters on this house. It's not a starter home. Here's the hook, the viral hook. This house will never, ever be for everyone. And that's exactly why the right buyer is going to steal it. Would you watch that?
Yeah, that would get my attention. Yeah.
I mean, so then you do a fast. It breaks everything down for me. So, and I'll send you this so you can look at it, right?
Yeah.
But it breaks down exactly what I want to put on screen, what I need to capture in video, one interior clip, keep it honest, not glam, not move-in ready, not conventional, but still powerful. DM me. Ed Nixon is what it's wanting me to say. If you're a cash buyer, you love projects. And I also probably would never have listed this as a home. I would have listed it as a residential, but primarily as land.
I love it.
Based on the condition that I can see. But yeah, so that's how I would go to. That's kind of where my brain goes whenever I start to do any listing. I definitely think that being realistic about this property and calling out the pain points is going to get more views. Like, this house looks terrible. The foundation is awful, but guess what? You can steal it for $40,000
Yeah.
prime hunting land on 2 acres.
Yeah.
Let's get a bulldozer, knock it down. Let's ask the seller to pay for the bulldozer.
Yeah.
And build what you want on it.
That's awesome.
That's how I use AI to market things, as I really try to understand, right? The buyer behavior. How am I going to get in front of them? And this is really what I mean when I say agents, they need to think like media companies, right? They have to, because that is part of who we are. We are a marketing and media company. And if you're not making video and you're not making content and you're not staying in top and informed on all these new AI tools, I do see a shift where we're going to lose a lot of agents to a lot of the new AI and inventions and all the apps and everything that are coming out. You got to stay a little bit ahead of the curve or be able to adjust and be okay with change if you want to stay in real estate.
That's awesome. Alex, this is probably the most detailed, most thorough answer we've ever gotten during this game. No. This is amazing. If you're able to send over that prompt, I'd love to share it on screen. I think our viewers are going to get a kick out of it. Is there a certain keyword you want them to comment in the section below for them to get the prompt review?
Well, we got to go with Ed Nixon, right?
Comment Ed Nixon in the chat below if you want this prompt.
If you want the prompt and some other prompts. So
awesome.
You will start to see that rolling out. I definitely will share that with you. We can post this, but
that's awesome.
If they follow me on Instagram at Alex Quate Homes, you're going to start to see a lot of cool AI prompts coming out in the near future.
Very cool. Alex, it's been an absolute honor to have you on this episode of Buyers on Demand. Is there anything else that you have coming up besides the class that you want to shout out to the audience before we go?
I'm always open to hearing from like-minded agents. I love creating that community where we can all grow together. So again, feel free to reach out to me, because I am also here to help those agents grow, right?
Awesome.
I think that's probably the biggest thing. And we'll see what comes in 2026. No more ice and snow.
Alex, thank you again. It's been an honor. This is Sean with Buyers on Demand, and thank you guys all for listening. Hope to see you again soon. And Alex, take care. Thank you.
You too.
All right.